Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Let's just wait for 30 more seconds for everybody else to join. Once again, a very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our webinar on AML issues and compliances by entities in Gift City. I am Ritika Jain, an associate at India Juris and the moderator for today's session. On behalf of India Juris and CFO Club, I extend a very warm welcome to all the participants and our esteemed panelists. Thank you for taking the time out and joining us today. This webinar is brought to you by India Juris and CFO Club. A brief background about India Juris. We are a leading full-service law firm with a strong presence in Indian as well as global market. We have consistently been ranked number one in private equity and venture capital transactions by Venture Intelligence Report. We have offices pan-India across cities like Delhi, Gurgaon, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Gift City. About CFO Club. CFO Club established in October 2017. It is an exclusive community of over 1,200 plus finance professional and enthusiasts dedicated to fostering knowledge, sharing, and networking in world of finance. The community includes CFOs, deputy CFOs, AVP Finance, GM Finance, and aspiring CFOs, all committed to driving excellence in financial management, strategic decision making, and business growth. For today's webinar, we have two panelists. We are pleased to welcome our first panelist, Mr. Sameer Rastogi, the managing partner of India Juris. He has been in practice for over 25 years and has a vast experience of variety of domestic as well as global matters. The second panelist is Mr. Praful Tonge, advocate from India Juris Gift City office. He deals in vast investment advisory and private equity matters. I would now request Mr. Sameer Rastogi for his presentation and to take the session forward. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ritika. So I welcome all the participants to this webinar on AML issues in Gift City. And we are glad to collaborate with CFO Club on this webinar. And the objective is to disseminate as much as information and knowledge about operating in Gift City. So today we'll try to throw light upon AML issues, AML law, AML guidelines, how things are there in Gift City. And with Praful on this, he's in Gift City office will give live experiences, how people are tackling the AML issues and what are the small nitty-gritties of AML things. So friends, before so like to proceed further, let me share my presentation on this. And then I think my presentation is so, friends. Today we are discussing on AML issues and compliances by entities in IFSC Gift City. So, for those who are already aware about Gift City, we welcome them here. And for those who are new to the term IFSC Gift City, so I would like to spend few seconds to introduce Gift City to them so that they can take benefit of rest of the webinar. So here you see AML issues, and two words are there in this the title of this webinar. One is AML issues and other is IFSC Gift Cities. So first of all, we should know AML stands for anti-money laundering. So what is money laundering? So we will look about that as well. And IFSC Gift City. So IFSC Gift City. So let me give an introduction, a small introduction, just to do not deviate from the main topic. So IFSC Gift City, friends, that is a international financial service center established at Gandhinagar, Gujarat. And those who haven't visited should visit and feel the difference. It is just like a financial center like Singapore, Dubai, or something which government of India is making, already made basically. And it is not very far. If you get down at Ahmedabad airport, 20, 15, 20, 25 minutes, you can reach IFSC Gift City. So it's very easy to commute and reach there. So IFSC Gift City is a place, it's a very large area where you have all financial institutions, regulators established over there. It's a global business. So what is there inside the Gift City? You have a lot of offices, financial institution, other entities who are operating there. And it has a global business benefit. You have tax exemptions, easier capital flow, no capital gains, tax within the Gift City, and no stamp duty, no GST within the Gift City. So all those benefits are there when you are operating there. So just I would tell the people who are aware of investment world, in angel fund in if any fund in India is want to invest outside India, then they require permission from SEBI. But in Gift City, if you are an operate fund operating there, so you can invest anywhere in the world. You don't require any permission. So that's we mean by easy capital flow. Inside, outside, it's very easy to operate over there. So you have operational advantages, foreign currency transaction, easy to do, doing business. So all those things are available. What about people go in Singapore or Dubai or any other jurisdiction? So everything is available in IFSC Gift City. So that is the background of the Gift City. And what is IFSC? IFSC is the regulator within the Gift City. Like we have SEBI regulator here for funds, for investments, for capital markets. For insurance, we have IRDA, different for foreign exchange, we have RBI. But in Gift City, everything is done in one. So IFSC is the unified regulator in Gift City, which takes about banking, insurance, capital market, funds, fintech, aircraft leasing, ship leasing, bullion, and other. So it regulates all. So we have a single regulator in Gift City, which is the benefit that you don't have to interact with so many regulators. You have only one regulator. So if you want to register there in Gift City, there's a single window system suite they have started, which is very easy. And you can easily establish obviously you have to follow the process, the procedure and everything, but it's quite easy to do your things in Gift City. So with this background, where is IFSC? What is IFSC? What is IFSCA? We proceed further to our topic on anti-money laundering. So friends, when we say AML, anti means against, and the money laundering. So what is money laundering? So whoever directly or indirectly attempts to indulge or knowingly, the word knowingly is very important here. Knowingly is party or assist or is involved in any process or activity connected with the proceeds of crime. So knowingly, if somebody is involved with the proceed of crime, and what does involvement means? whether concealment, possession, acquisition, or use. And the next important para is projecting or claiming it as untainted property shall be guilty of offense of money laundering. So when we say what is money laundering, this is the basic definition under Prevention and PMLA Act, Prevention and Money Laundering Act 2002. So this is the base definition if somebody wants to understand when we are talking about anti-money laundering. So this is what we are trying to protect, money laundering, what we are trying to protect and take measures. So now we just saw what is money laundering. Then why AML, CFT at GIFT City? Why it is required over there? So anti-money laundering, countering financing of terrorism. Why? Because as I said, GIFT City is a global international level financial center. The capital is free flow. You have a lot of tax benefits. That's why when things are so smooth, there has to be check and balances and precautionary measures as per global standards. And that's why AML and CFT is very necessary in GIFT City as well. Though it is applicable to whole of India, the law is there, but it is more to be observed in GIFT City because things are quite free flow over there. So what does it? It gives global credibility, ensures GIFT IFSC operate at par with international financial service centers because we want this financial center to be at par with global standards like Dubai, Singapore, London, and others. And all of them have such policies and system methods in place. So similarly, we have to be at the same place when global investors are coming. So we have to be at the same page with other financial centers. So compliance with FATF. So Alliance India global norms to prevent money laundering and terrorism act. So we have an FATF Financial Action Task Force. We'll know more about it later. So our all AML law, AML requirement compliance are aligned with FATF. Whatever their standards are there, the guidelines and all those things. So it builds investor confidence. Risk mitigation, it protects financial system from illicit fund flow, fraud and reputational damage. And sustainable growth, for sustainable growth, it is very much important. So these are the background why, because in our mind we may have question why when everything is so free flow, so efficient, then why you need AML. So these are the reasons because that AML is more required over there. So now friends, let's come to the regulatory framework. When somebody talks in GIFT City, we are in, because GIFT City physically, I mean, say territorial wise, it is in India. So all Indian law applies over there regarding to this. But IFSC has made a separate regulation subsuming all these things in this. So when somebody is talking about AML, just to recap what AML regulatory framework are there. So in regulatory framework of AML, we have international standards which are laid down by different organizations, institutions, and other governments or international groups. We have Indian laws which are applicable there, which we have to follow. We have regulatory guidelines like IFSC issued guidelines and supervisory requirement. So all these things make the full framework for AML, anti-money laundering issues and legal framework. All these kind of things make. So for the ease of the participants who are operating in GIFT City or who wish to operate, who have just started, they may note that these are the pieces of law or the portions which they should note that they would be applicable, are applicable in GIFT City when they are operating. And so that they can, at least the object is not to teach you the AML at the moment, but you should have a broad guideline with you that these things I have to take care when I'm operating in GIFT City as far as my AML issues, compliances are concerned. So first of all is we have IFSCA, AML, CFT and KYC guidelines 2022. This is the mother guideline of the entities for AML and CFT operating in GIFT City, and it encapsulates all other Indian laws in it. But other laws which are mentioned here, other things, they are equally applicable there in GIFT City as well. So you have Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA, in short we say. PML, Maintenance of Record Rules 2005. You have Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967. You have Financial Intelligence Unit, India, where all the STR and CTR reportings are done. We'll talk about this later. FATF, Financial Action Task Force. FATCA, everybody knows, whoever are dealing with foreign exchange transaction or foreign transaction, this is the compliance by US government. And how it comes here, we'll see it later on, because our IFSCA guidelines has captured all these things. UNSC sanctions, like global sanctions and other global things, they are also equally, because we are playing at a global standard level. As far as money laundering is concerned, it is same all over. So United Security Council sanctions to freeze assets, prohibit dealing, and all those things. So those things are also to be seen when you are operating in GIFT City or making your policy or assessing the risk. So we'll talk more about it. So this is the broad framework which you keep in mind when you are dealing with AML and CFT and KYC guidelines in GIFT City. So what, in one line, if I have to say what is whole about, it requires regulated entities. So what is regulated entity? Because we'll be using this word very often in this webinar. Regulated entities means the entities which are registered in GIFT City, who have been granted registration by the regulator IFSCA. They may be financial institutions, banks, fund management entities, brokers, intermediaries, so all those things. So it requires regulated entities to conduct AML business risk assessments, adopt risk mitigation policies, ensure KYC, customer risk profiling, and appropriate due diligence. So you have to be very vigilant while operating when while doing transactions. So that is the gist of it. So we go deeper into this. So IFSCA, AML, CFT, KYC guidelines, this is the main guideline. We'll take it in the last, but we'll quickly run down other parts what we have written here. So we take them because all other things would be used in the main regulation. So we'll take it in the last. So Prevention of Money Laundering Act, it applies to whole of India. So it defines disguising proceeds of crime as alleged. The definition about money laundering we saw on the first page, that is coming out of this act. And IFSCA guidelines also says money laundering means as defined in PMLA. So both are linked that way. So the regulated by Enforcement Directorate, all PMLA matters are investigated and by ED, and they can investigate, attach, confiscate assets of the party who are involved in this. So what it does, PMLA, it obligates banks, financial institution, intermediaries, reporting entities, we can say, to maintain records and report suspicious transactions to FIN, FIUIND. So we just mentioned on the first page, where if you see here, FIUIND, Financial Intelligence Unit. So you are required to report under PMLA also. These reporting entities are required to report all these things to Financial Intelligence Unit. Provide attachments. This particular PMLA provide attachment, adjudication, and classification of property linked to global FATF standards, standing India AML. So Financial Action Task Force standards. So PMLA is aligned with that, and that's why it is good for us to know what is FATF and how it works, so that you can appreciate the law and the regulations for in forming your policies and assessing the business risks and mitigation as well. So this is what I have done. We had put a snapshot of PMLA, the major sections of the major things what it provides, so that at one go you can understand what is under PMLA and how things are there. So like proceeds of, so section 3, so we'll go quickly on this. So it provides offense of money laundering, proceeds of crime, including its concealment, acquisition, use, projecting, or claiming it untainted part. So that section 3 of this talks about what is money laundering. So there is a provision of our punishment also. So we'll circulate you this presentation as well, and you can see it and you can read the particular law as well if you as may be required. So as I said, from reporting entities means a banking company, financial institution, intermediary, or person carrying on designated business under PML. So all those entities which are there in Gift City are a reporting entity, except some exceptions have been given by IFSC. We'll talk about them later. So maintenance of records, reporting entity shall verify the identity of its client and beneficial owner and maintain records of all transactions. The same is there in Gift City as well. So this law is encapsulated in our IFSC guide. So attachment of property, it provides PMLA, it is provides for investigation and appellate, because if somebody is, aggrieved of the order of the authority, ED, then they can appeal. There is an appellate tribunal to it. So financial intelligence unit, so whatever STR and CTR are received by the FIU, that they analyze and then they analyze and provide it to ED and to other authorities. So that is the whole parameter of PMLA. And then, so this is essential to know while making your policies, doing risk assessment and mitigating them. Because, for example, if something happens, then if you are a reporting entity and transaction has passed through your entity somewhere, then you would be inquired, then you should have some documents, you should have filed your reports, and so that you can cooperate in the whole investigation. So that is very essential. So that was about PMLA. So these are the PML, prevention of money laundering, maintenance of record rules. It is under the PMLA Act. So basically it talks about that you have to maintain the records with you between 5 to 10 years. So what all things, so even if you are in Gift City, you have to maintain the records with you. It's not that you have checked and then you are off with that. So you have to maintain all the records, what you are doing during transactions. So want to know more about detail, whether you can do it digitally and how, so you can go through these guidelines and you will come to know about it. So you can do it digitally and other ways as well. So next is Unlawful Activity Prevention Act 1967. So again, this act is also involved working in collaboration or with together with PMLA. So UPA is in India imposes significant obligation related to terrorism financing within AML framework. So what it does, it criminalizes raising funds for terrorist acts, whether the legitimate or illegitimate source, and includes offenses by individual, organization, companies, societies, or trusts. And it empowers the government to freeze assets, to attach assets, and all those things. So basically, what it talks about, even if it is a legitimate money source, then also for if it is for unlawful activities, it can be under this. So this is one of so that is also a part of their AML framework, this particular law. So this I was telling, this is very important to know about it. Financial Intelligence Unit. So it's a national agency under Ministry of Finance responsible for receiving, processing, and analyzing financial intelligence. What happens? It collects suspicious transaction reports, STR, and cash transaction reports, CTRs, from regulated entities. So whenever if you are operating in Gift City and if you come across some suspicious transactions and you find cash transactions, so cash transaction report means, if somebody is transferring more than 5 lakhs or foreign exchange more than 10 lakhs, so all those limits are there. The moment you process that, you have some kind of transaction, you have to report. It's an online reporting, and that report goes to FIU. So what FIU does is shares actionable intelligence with law enforcement and regulatory authorities, plays a key role in AML CFT compliance for India, including Gift City. All regulated entities shall ensure that registration on FIU IND portal is completed prior to commencement of business. So those who are setting up business in GIFT City, who have already set up, in process, about to start. So they should know that registration under FIUIND portal is compulsory before you do commence your business over there. So those who haven't done, because when you have registered, then only you can file the reports over there. So that is why it is compulsory for all the people. Even we as a law firm, our office is also registered on FIUIND portal when we started there. So all entities, this is a point to be noted by all. So this is about FIUIND. So FATF, we heard about FATF in our presentation earlier. So what is it? I'm sure most of you must be knowing, but just to recap, it was established in 1989 by G7 countries: France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, USA, and Canada, and the European Commission. So it was created during the G7 summit in Paris to combat money laundering. Later expanded to 2000 in 2001 to include counter CFT, counter terrorist financing as well. Earlier it was only for money laundering, and then it was extended to CFT, which is countering financing uh, terrorist activities, and proliferation financing. Today, FATF has around 39 members plus two regional organizations. One is European Commission, other is GCC, that is Gulf Cooperation Council. So we have seven to I think six members in that, 6 or 8. It works as a global standard setter for AML CFT through recommendations adopted by over 200 countries worldwide. So FATF would have their recommendation, their resolution, their standards. So when financial institutions or others are operating, so you can observe, you can take guidance from their resolutions, their notes, that how you have to deal, or you have to make your policies and how you have to work on it. So that is about FATF. And that's how the role of FATF is there, but we have to comply with the resolutions, the standards, and the object of that. So FATCA, it is a Foreign Account Tax Companies Act. It is of a USA Act. It is a US Act. So when somebody would say when it is a US Act, then why we are talking about it, how it is in GIFT City? For prevention of money laundering, because what does this act says? It says it was introduced in US by 2010 to prevent tax evasion by US citizens holding accounts abroad. That was the whole genesis of this act. So now what is there? India has a internal government agreement, IGA, with US, where any such kind of account, the information will be provided to IRS. So that is the whole. So the moment if something is like that, then we have to have that information, report it, and then it will go. That is how this act is coming to us. So it requires foreign financial institution, including those in India, to report information on accounts held by US person to IRS. So it is not that everybody has to go and tell the IRS. So there is a system, because there is an internal government agreement. So it goes through system. So applies to bank, issuer, funds, intermediate operating in IFSC like GIFT City. Ensure transparency and cross-border financial transaction in compliance with US tax laws. So friends, when you are operating in GIFT City, either in India as well, it applies both ways. So you have to see if you have, when you are doing customer due diligence, so we'll talk about customer due diligence later on this. Then if it is there, then it has to be reported. And if you are FATCA compliant, then what happens? US investors and are happy to come here because they don't get any penal things in their host country. So it attracts US investors. So what if there is a reporting, then you have to do a reporting electronically. There is a portal on the CBDT portal, you do all reporting there, and which further goes to IRS later on as per the government, how the government deals with it. So that is how, so the FATF, FATCA, and then we have FIU, intelligence, all these things are creating the whole framework of AML. So it's very important to have note of all these organizations and their activities. So UN Security Council sanctions, that is also a major role. So UN Security Council sanctions plays a critical role in AML. So what it does is framework by mandating identification, freezing, and reporting of assets links to individual or entities listed on UN sanction list. So now all regulated entities, including bank, fund manager, intermediaries in GIFT City must comply with this sanction as part of their AML. Because if you go to our IFSCA regulations, they would say that observe, you have to comply with international standards. And when you have to comply with international standards, you have to take care of the UN Security Council's sanction list as well. So that's how all these things are coming. So when you are onboarding a client, when you are boarding an investor, so you take care of all these things. So friends, these were the laws which are within the AML regulatory framework. And now we are on the main regulation in GIFT City, which is applicable, which is IFSCA AML CFT KYC guidelines 2022. And this guideline more or less takes all the laws which we have so far seen in the presentation. All are collaborated and included in this. So if you go through all this regulation, you will by default you will come to know all other laws which are applicable in India on IFA on this AML issues. So it was IFSCA AML CFT KYC guideline were issued in 2022 in GIFT City. So what it does, mandatory KYC customer due diligence. All entities must verify client identity, monitor transaction, and maintain records. So this is a broad about what these guidelines provide. As we see, the PMLA, the same, I would say the same gist is here as well. As suspicious transaction reporting requires reporting to FIU IND of any suspicion or unusual financial activity, and that is why your registration with FIU portal is compulsory. It is aligned with FATF and PMLA. So FATF is an international thing and PMLA is our India's national law. So it complies with that. And you have to, when you are framing your policy, when you are assessing the risk, then what you have to do, you have to have a risk-based approach. Entities must assess clients and transaction risk and implement enhanced measures for risk profiles, high risk profiles. So this is the basic few liners about the CFT IFSC AML guidelines. So we go in detail a little bit just to give a flavor of that. So applicability, to whom it applies? It applies to every regulated entity licensed, recognized or registered by IFSC. That is one thing. Includes financial groups, branches and subsidiaries. Covers a wide range of financial services operating in IFSC. So since we are talking about IFSC, so as I said earlier also, all regulated entities are covered in this. Everybody has to have a CFT and a AML policy with them. Obligation of regular, what is the obligation on that? That every RE should formulate their AML CFT policy as per guidelines. And that policy has to be approved by its governing body. Sometimes I would say many times. Many of the companies, funds operating in GIFT City, they would have made their CFT policy, AML policy, and just kept it. Whenever there is audit, but that is required to be approved by your governing body. If you are a company, then your board of directors. If you are a LLP, then by your partners. So it's all not only you have made it and kept it. It has to be approved by them. When you say approved means you should have a resolution passing it that okay, this format or this draft of the policy is approved and approved by this. So when a regulator requires or anybody there is an audit or show cause, then you have to tell that these policies are approved by and this is the proof for it. So those who have made it but have not formally approved it, you should get it approved and keep it for that particular. So now here there is a thing, there are, there are branches also in GIFT City. Suppose I am a company in any other jurisdiction and I have a branch in GIFT City and that company already already have a AML policy, CFT policy. They already have it, and it is approved by their, may or may not be approved by their admin. But suppose if they already have a policy, so if you have a branch in Gift City, now you have to see two things. First of all, your AML policy, whether it can be accepted in Gift City also. The answer is yes, provided it has all the features of IFSC guideline. So you review your global or your India or wherever you are located, your AML policy, and if it includes everything, then it can be adopted here. But you should pass a resolution that it is adopted or approved for IFSC as well. And if your policy does not have few features which are required under IFSC policy, then you should amend it and then get it approved. And then, so this is how you have to formulate the policy and get it approved by the governing body. So every regulated entity shall have a KYC policy as a part of their AML CFT policy. Every member of RE senior management shall be responsible for RE AML compliances. So senior management, all senior management people will be responsible for this, not only one. Every member of RE senior management shall exercise due skill, care, and diligence. So this is a very broad thing about those who are operating in Gift City or going to operate in Gift City. They should observe this. So now chapter 2 of this policy talks about risk-based approach. Because the topic is big, so we are trying to cover in a very short time. So that's why I'm giving you a broad perspective. And if there is something specific, you can connect us later on after the webinar or offline to our Gift City office. So how do you do it? You have to have a risk-based approach. RE should adopt a risk-based approach to identify and assess the money laundering (ML) and terrorist financing (TF) risk to which the RE is exposed. And what are the factors? You have to see the nature of the business and exposure or involvement with different types of clients like countries, geographic areas, products, services, transaction, delivery channels. So all these basis factors would, give you a direction to have a risk-based approach to analyze ML and TF risks. What you have to do, you have a FATF public statement, the reports and guidance notes, and United Nations Security Council resolution may be used in risk assessment, as I said earlier. So these things you can use as a tool for your risk assessments. It can be a guiding note for you. RE shall review its risk assessment at least once every 2 years or when a material trigger event, whichever is earlier. So now you have to review its risk assessment every 2 years or a material event occurs. So now when you are talking about every 2 years, sometime, oh, you may think nothing has happened, it's okay. It's not that. Even after 2 years, if nothing has happened, you should review, record, and see, okay, we have done this. That is the right way of doing it. So business risk assessment. So it provides the IFSC AML guideline provides that you have to make business risk assessment. So how do you do? The parameters are the factors are same: countries, geographic areas, products, services, transaction, delivery channels. So you have to identify and assess the business AML risks, taken into consideration complexities and suitability. Because suppose if you are, let us say you are a fintech, if you are an insurance company, if you are a broking, if you are investment fund, you will have different kind of people, different kind of client, different geographies. So basis of then you have to assess the risk. How kind there may be if you are investment fund, there may be layering created by the investors, then you have a different kind of system and methods to apply. So that way you have to see that. So AML CFT system and control, RE shall put in place adequate policies, procedures, system and controls to mitigate such money laundering and terrorist financing risk. So this is under all these things you have to do. AML policies per control shall be approved by the senior management. So when we say approved, so it is always advisable that you document it, that it is approved. It's not that, okay, oh, he has seen, it's okay. So you document it. So we earlier, friends, we saw you have to have a risk-based approach. You have to do business risk assessment, and then you have to do customer risk assessment. That is also very important, which is provided in this guideline. And you have to do customer profiling. So risks identified while assessing the businesses shall be used for the customer risk assessment. For example, if you have some people from sanctioned countries, you may have a different customer profiling. Their background may be different, their business activities may be different, something. So you have to do different customer profiling, customer risk assessment, and you have to assign them rating, high, medium, low, and proportionate to the money laundering and TF risk, because that would define what kind of diligence you have to take. So the regulation require you do customer risk assessment, do their profiling and rating, and accordingly you have to do due diligence of the customer. And when we do all these things, it is advisable that your all documentation is perfectly placed, because if something happens, then you have to investigation. Anytime any investigation or information is sought by the enforcement directorate, then you should be able to provide that. Because we saw ML means knowingly. So you have taken extra precaution, you have taken full precaution, and then also, for example, something happens, then you are out of it. So that is why it says you keep all your records in line in place, so that you are out of the definition of the ML. So it talks about, we saw customer profiling based on the risk, and how then it requires due diligence of the customers also. RE should undertake CDD, customer due diligence, in respect of all customers. You know, the word is all customers. You can't leave single. So you make system methods and policies that how you will do the due diligence and apply to all customers. You do risk profiling, and then accordingly you do apply due diligence. Enter all customers before or entering into any business relation with the customer. So for high risk customers, you have to do an enhanced due diligence. For low risk customers, you can do a simplified and normal CDD for every other entity or the customer. So this is what the IFSC regulation provides, and you can see more deeply in the regulations. For the benefit of the participants, I would tell that all regulations which I'm talking about are available on the website of IFSCA. All regulations, all amendments, all of their circulars are available there, and you will get everything on the website at one place, just in case if you wish to deep dive in the regulations. So in case of failure of RE to conduct or complete CDD, RE shall not proceed with any transaction or business relation with such customer. You know, for example, for example, you are a fund or an FME operating, and there is some big customer who is going to invest 100 million with you. And for some reasons, you are not able to, you have set up a due diligence process or KYC process that is not getting completed. In that case, you should not proceed with the transaction. So you should be very clear on it that these are my parameters, this is my procedure, unless this is done, I will not proceed. Many a times we have seen the client saying, sir, let it go, it's okay, it will come, the information will come. So please avoid such situations. So now, periodic updation of due diligence. So it's not that once you have done a due diligence and you are okay, the person may change, their situation may change. So you have to do periodic updates annually for high risk customers, once in 3 for medium, and once in 5 years for low risk customers. This is the requirement. It's not that आपने एक बार onboard किया फिर भूल गए. So this is what is required, so that your compliance team is because I think now everything is digitalized. All tools are used, so you can easily keep track whose DD is now due, and all those things are there. And again, as I say, when you say annually you have to update, you should record it that you have updated it. Suppose if I come and audit your fund or your entity and ask, when did you update? You have no proof to that you have updated it shortly. So keep all those tracks. Internal policies, compliances, audit and training. So it requires that you have to make internal policies, compliance system, auditing and training. Because without all these things, you'll not be able to put an effective AML system in place. So RE shall develop appropriate compliance management, including appointing a principal officer and management level develop compliance framework. So you are required to appoint a principal officer for AML and a designated director. These two things are there. So these people, none of these people can be an entity. आप सोचो कि मैं principal officer किसी entity को कर दूं, करता रहेगा, that is it has to be two natural persons. Both person cannot be same. It has to be different. Okay. And they are required to be in IFSC. Suppose if you are a branch of a company outside IFSC and you saying my person sitting in India or France is designated director for this, that will not happen. So basically your people from other part of the world like India or anywhere would not be designated director or a principal for this. So you have to have a separate. The designated director who you would appoint would be in charge of the whole affair of the entity, and principal officer would be on a day-to-day basis, basically. So you have to develop internal policies, compliance, audit. So for compliance, responsibility of the principal officer, as I was telling, he has to monitor on day-to-day basis. He have to do all these activities. I'm going a little bit fast so that we complete. On audit side, you have to maintain an audit function that is adequately resourced and independent and is liable to assess the effectiveness. Now you have to see that these people should be independent. That is the very, because if you see a person, if you have a person of an audit, he is involved in the business line, he is a director also, and so that would not happen. So you will have a problem if there is any time an audit by the regulator. So you have to be very, the word adequately so and independent. You should please note the word independent. Yeah. So RE framework shall be periodically audited, not just on individual business function, but also as a regulated entity-wide basis. So all these things you can see the training program, whether the instance of non-compliance are reported to senior management on a time. There is all word by word it is provided. So here you can note that you have to have an internal policy system, you have to have a good compliance team, you have a separate audit team, and you need to train your people from time. Because technology things of doing business of crime is changing every day. So your team has to be updated on that. So now you are required, all REs, as I said, are required to report suspicious transactions. So shall establish and maintain policy, procedure, system and control in order to monitor and detect suspicious transaction with respect to potential ML and TF, money laundering and terrorist financing act risks. So karna kya hai aapko? What you have to do? Make the policies, identify such things, detect them, when you are detecting some risk, you ask your customers, review your customer records again, and then you STR to FIU. This is how the process will go. Then you tell then how you come that this is a suspicious transaction. This is the process one may adopt, and then report it to the FIU IND about that. So RE shall furnish to the director FIU IND the required information STR referred in so and so so and so. So these STR you have to get to FIU. So we have seen previously also. So this is how you have to go about it. Compliance obligations under international agreements and domestic laws. As I said, that AML law or regulation or framework does not operate independently. Like if I say I'm only in IFSC, no, we are connected with the world. And everywhere it will be connected with the global laws, global standards, and then it works. Because in AML, every time the money is coming from outside or going outside, it is layered outside, it is concealed outside or inside. So that's why it cannot be a law within the country. It has to be aligned with the global practices. So RE shall ensure that in terms of 51A of Unlawful Activity Prevention Act, they do not have that they do not have any account in the name of individuals, entities appearing in the list of individual entities suspected of having terrorist links which are approved by the periodic circulated by the UNSC. So this is our IFSC guideline is providing that as per 15 UPA, that act you have to see that you should not have any customer जिसका UNSC में list में नाम. You have to comply with FATF statements. This is the part of our IFSC guideline. And under FATCA and CRS common report standards, RE shall adhere to the provisions of Income Tax Act, whether it is reporting financial institution or so it talks about filing of reporting of uh, suspicious transaction, reporting of US people who are holding accounts here through CBDT. So it's all about that. So what we have seen separately earlier in different places laws, now that has come in the IFSC guidelines. Exemption. So is it applies to there was a circular by IFSC where these are exempted from KYC. This IFSC AML guideline, which is global in-house centers, international branch campus, or an offshore educational center of a foreign university, financial crime compliance service provider registered under IFSC, bookkeeping, accounting, taxation, and these guys, and financial institution providing services only to the entities in its financial group which are located in a country. So these people are exempted from this thing, from IFSC guideline. But this is for IFSC. But we have national law. In my view, they would apply. IFSC has exempted from their guideline. Country has not exempted them. Practical challenges and issues. So friends, practical challenges, we can see it's a dynamic and evolving regulatory landscape, operational and resources challenges, data management and tech, you know, customer due diligence and KYC. Customer को पता है, ultimately many times your investor, your client will not give you the data. You will not be able to get it. You will not come to know the layers, the shells of the companies. So these are the challenges. Challenges with remote onboarding. People are not here. You sometimes you may not be able to talk to or speak to customer. You will not be able to get the data about then how to go about it. So dynamic sanction list, you have to keep track. There are links. Every time the list is changing. So you have to keep track of that. Today somebody is not there in list, tomorrow it will be. Again you have to, so you have to be, make a system that somebody is checking at frequencies. So these are the practical challenges, but with a proper team, with a proper policies, methods in procedure, you can take care of that. So how to go about? So now when you have just reviewed what is all law and how the issues, compliances, what you have to do, then what I should do, you formulate AML policy, you do business risk assessments, you set up your AML compliance team depending upon how big your organization is there. You put up AML training, which is very much required because new ways of crime and new ways of things are invented. So your people are trained on that. There are a lot of AI and RegTech tools, regulatory compliance tools, which you may explore, which suits to your organization. Some name I have written here, your Comply Advantage, Resistant AI, Hawk AI, Feeds, whichever is, you can check on this and keep reviewing. Keep reviewing AML policy as per the guidelines or occurrence of the event, whichever is it. So after hearing all this, how you should go about it, this is a broad way to go about and setting up your AML things in place. So friends, just to this we are on the last slide of it, and just to take it, I have given few cases just to I mean some people would say अरे हमारे यहाँ कुछ नहीं होगा, हमारे यहाँ तो कुछ होता ही नहीं है, we are not that. But how AML is touching now, you can say the Logsam app cyber enabled investment. So it was so these are the latest one. The Nirav Modi is old, but you can know that in Nirav Modi case there were shell companies which and fake trade transactions were used to launder money through unauthorized letter of undertakings. So all these things may come to you. So you can see in these cases what had happened, like in Logsam app, what had happened, that duped thousands of investors as a legitimated investment platform and then moving the funds through corporate accounting, money changer and Hawala channels through routing them abroad. The scam exposed their fake apps, rapid rupee to forex conversion, offshore shell networks can be expected for large scale laundering. So when you are dealing with, you can see all these things. Like recent is the World Trade Center, in Gift City, there is a World Trade Center, I think, is coming up. And that was part of this. That group had again, that was caught by ED, and so for some time, that was all licenses were cancelled in Gift City or WTC also. So it was investigated. The misappropriation of 3,000 crore was there in a real estate. And what was done? Their funds were diverted through companies and overseas entities. The case highlight risk in real estate AML, including fund diversion, layering, cross-border money laundering, and cross-border money. So you see, like this, there are many other cases. I have just taken two or three just to give you a taste how you would be coming across of all these things. If you read all these cases, you will come to know how the AML things are happening, how you have to be technologically updated, and what points you should use while doing the risk analysis or business analysis of your customers and other issues. So with this, I think with this, friends, we are on the our so with this, I think we are on the end of our this presentation. I think it took a lot of the time, but to cover this thing, this much time was required. But still, I have done very fast. So I think this is all from my side, and we'll go a little fast. So I think I'll call Praful. Praful, I'm really obligated to the participants who have been listening this webinar on. But now Praful is from Gift City, and Praful, all of us would like to know about AML things. What particular issues people are facing regarding their because in KYC in AML policy you are taking a lot of data from various clients on while onboarding them. Then what are the privacy act or digital or data say when you are collecting the data. So all those things, some issue, I know you are telling some issues are coming. There are some questions roaming around in Gift City, so you can throw some light on that aspect.
So first of all, good evening, everybody. So I'm Praful Dongia. I sit out of the India Juris Gift City office. So the presentation which was presented by Samir sir, it is a very broad, it gives a very broad overview about the AML landscape here in Gift IFSC. So just to give you the importance of the guidelines, all regulations, all the regulatory framework of the entities operating in Gift IFSC, it is built on top of the AML guidelines. So until and unless you are compliant with those guidelines, technically you cannot operate out of Gift IFSC. Coming back to the issue, the operating entities in IFSC, the issues that they are currently facing. What observed is because there is a lot of foreign inflow. So the clients that are being onboarded onto the Gift City entity platforms, they are basically foreign clients. So it has become quite difficult to get the appropriate KYC documents from these foreign clients. All of us are aware about the GDPR regulations. So many times when a legal entity is to be onboarded as a customer or an investor on a platform, you have to make sure that the ultimate beneficial owner is also identified. And many times the KYC documents of the KMP people are also taken on record. But to ensure that the periodicity of these KYC documents is taken into consideration, we have to store all of that data onto Indian servers because, mind you, we are also regulated by the DPDP Act. That stipulates that the data processing has to happen in India, the data storage has to happen in India, and the entities are also required to have a business continuity plan, which requires the entities to have a data backup of all of their operational files, which means the KYC documents are stored at the minimum 2 times with the regulated entities. So it becomes very crucial to make sure that the privacy of the investor who is being onboarded is taken care of. The data is safely stored and only retrievable by the authorized personnel of the regulated entities. This has been highlighted, and the regulator has taken quite stern steps to make sure that the data privacy concerns are taken care of. Just to provide a brief overview about what exactly entails as a customer due diligence. So whenever an investor or a customer is being onboarded onto a regulated entity, basic identification documents are requested from the investor who is being onboarded. So basically name, where the person is from, his residential address proofs, his passport if it is required. So this is to ensure that you get an idea of the who the person is, and if it's a legal entity, we need to understand who the ultimate beneficial owner is. Many times, the legal entity setups are in a way that they are layered, they are structured in a way wherein the entities want to keep a very clean balance sheet and to keep a very clean shareholding structure. So, to understand who the ultimate beneficial owner is, this is to ensure because many times politically exposed persons they do make sure that they are layered in a way that they don't flag or they are not flagged under the AML guidelines. So we need to ensure that the person is identified. And this is done on a very dynamic scale because there are a lot of regulatory technology platforms who provide these services. As it is mentioned that there are a lot of sanction lists which a regulated entity has to take care of. UNSC being the most prominent one, the Ministry of Home Affairs. It also issues a list wherein people who are identified with a higher risk feature they are being tagged and the list is updated onto the platform. So when you're onboarding a customer, the regulated entity has to ensure whether the person is flagged by either of the sanction lists or whether the person is being termed as a high risk candidate. And based on that, then the entity has to take the documents on record and to understand what kind of business relationship will be proposed to be set up between the regulated entity as well as the customer. So here in GIFT IFSC, we have a very robust AML KYC system. And on an entity level, the most important document being your AML internal policy because it provides the foundation block for your entity's setup. And because your entity is registered with the FIU IND portal as well, you have a very robust compliance framework in place as well. So as it was mentioned that you have to have an audit in place as well, because every single foreign currency that is flowing through GIFT IFSC, you have to have an audit trail for where the money came from and where the money went. So this is where the banks come in. This is where the regulated entities come in. So you have to have a proper audit trail for all the money flows happening through GIFT IFSC. And this is done on a yearly basis. Regulated entities have monthly, quarterly reporting formats as well, wherein the entities can take up the issues with the IFSC as well. And they can similarly raise the issues through report formatting to the FIU IND portal as well. So the framework is quite robust and the concerns that were raised regarding the KYC documentation records, which were kept by regulated entities, that will be addressed accordingly. And the DPDP rules, which are not yet in place, they will be formalized soon. And I think the entities, they have quite a robust mechanism here in GIFT IFSC. So anybody of you who is looking to come to GIFT IFSC and set up a entity, it may be for a fund or a finance company for aircraft leasing or ship leasing. The first step that you need to understand is AML will form your bottom line, and all your business structure will be built on top of the AML policy. So I believe that is the crux of the webinar today, and I think we have covered all the basic points that a person who is new to the field is required to know, and any person who is operating in GIFT IFSC or irrespective of that anywhere outside IFSC in India or elsewhere as well. Anti-money laundering forms a very basic measure to conduct business within the bounds of the law, and I feel if you have any queries, please you may.
So, Praful, thank you. I
Yeah.
think Tanya, you can put both of us on the screen. So, I think the audience, the participant would like to know in Gift City whether the entities operating in Gift City are maintaining whole team in-house or they are outsourcing service to the consultants like us or how they are doing it. Because obviously everybody wants to be cost effective And so maintaining the team internally is cost effective, or how the people are managing at the moment there?
So basically, the regulator has been very careful about this. So your business operations are segregated from your AML compliance operations. So you cannot use the same person for your AML
Hmm.
compliance operations.
Yes, yes.
So it becomes very cost intensive, personal intensive. Many a times these activities are outsourced as well. We ensure that the clients understand that these activities you have to do it. You cannot say, okay, we'll outsource them, because at the end of the day, you are the person who is liable. We ensure that the internal policies are drafted in a way that they cover your business prospects, you are compliant under the law, but you also have quite the ambit to make sure that your business operations are not hampered in any situation which may or may not come today or tomorrow. So we
Yeah, I
make
think
it a point
the
for that.
people in Gift City, you may have your policy drafted, you may have system methods in place. So somebody can, but at least you would have your principal officer and designated director in place to look after all these things.
Yeah,
You're maybe all doing all these things can be taken assistance of someone, but ultimately you have to have your persons over
yeah.
there. I think, Praful, we have overshot the time, but there is a question from Miss Kajal Anand, and but that is little off track of the subject of AML, but we'll try to take that. Can you go through that question?
Yeah, so basically, the question is from Kajal Anand.
Yeah.
It says, hello, Samirji. Excellent presentation. If
Thank you.
any foreign entity wishes to invest in our company, I believe it's an Indian company, say around 50 million US dollars, do you advise to route it through Gift City or directly to us?
Yeah.
So
So,
I think the
yeah,
Indian
so
company wants to raise
yeah,
funds.
so we'll go one by. Though it is not related to this topic, and to answer this, we would require additional information to tell you. But as the information we have, if we are presuming that you are in India and you are want to take the money from, so it totally depends where the investor is located and what is their object of investing and where they want to take the money out of that, and whether they want to have, because in if you are investing through Gift City, the foreign investors are not required to do PAN, TAN and everything in India, whereas if they come directly in India, they have to take PAN for all those things. So it totally depends. You have to take a tax effect for your investors and basis that. Otherwise, they are sitting from outside, they are investing in India through outside and through Gift City. For Indian company, it is one and the same thing. It can give the benefit to the investor, certain tax benefits and certain ease of doing business. What are further questions in that?
How would it benefit by routing through Gift City? And who is the entity with whom we need to connect in Gift City?
No, so in Gift City, there is no entity. You have to have your own, because you have to have your own entity in Gift City. First, you have to become a regulated entity, as we said. Whether you want to do a, want to set up a holding company, you want to be a fund, you have to be registered in Gift City, and then you take investment, and then further you can make investment. Or if you want to, there are a lot of funds in Gift City where the investor can come and invest in the fund, and fund can invest in your Indian company. That way can, then all the IFSCA compliances are done by that fund. So that also can be done, but that would involve certain cost. So you have to evaluate the cost and the ease of doing benefit and tax benefit to your client. And I think that can be a separate chapter altogether. We can discuss offline that. What is further question in that?
Sir, I believe the questions are answered because you just mentioned how to set up the transaction flow.
Okay. Okay.
And rest assured, the transaction will be totally legal. So there won't be any loophole for your money flowing from abroad to your Indian entity.
Yeah.
So that is taken care of.
So I think if you are expecting investment from outside, so you can discuss offline, because there are so many things which may not be like to discuss here with you. There may be some confidential information of your client, so we can discuss it separately in the Gift City or in Delhi, wherever you wish to. So I think, Praful, is there any other question or how we?
So there's a lot of questions are coming up, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the question is from Mr. Piyush Tanna.
हाँ, सो
Can a
मैंने पहले
principal
भी बताया
officer?
था कि प्योर
Yeah,
डायरेक्टर सेम नहीं हो सकता. इट हैज
yeah.
टू बी डिफरेंट, बिकॉज प्रिंसिपल ऑफिसर इज ऑन डे टू डे एंड डायरेक्टर इज ओवरऑल. सो यू कैन नॉट हैव, बिकॉज द लॉ प्रिस्क्राइब इट हैज टू बी डिफरेंट. सो सेम नहीं हो सकते, आप एक आदमी से नहीं काम चला पाओगे. सो यू नीड टू हैव टू पीपल फॉर दैट. व्हाट इज एल्स?
So there's an additional query from Mr. Monica Gidra. So it says financial institutions offering services only to their own financial group are exempted.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it impose a risk if they are exempted from AML? There can be round tripping and inter-corporation loans.
No, the exemption is from policy. But ऐसे जैसे मैंने बोला, इंडिया में if you are in India, PMLA Act and all other act applies to you. है ना? So that is there. But we can exemption list जो मैंने आपको what the exemption list which I have seen there is a full circular to that. It is in short. And if you go on IFSC website, you will get the exemption circular. You may read in line, read it properly, and there you will get the clarification for this.
So we'll take last question from
Yes.
Mr. Nikhil Shah. The question is, are CA firms allowed to become regulated entities?
हाँ, CA firm है ना, हम law firm हैं, we are law firm, we are also regulated. Whoever is registered in GIFT City, they are regulated entity. We are a law firm, we are registered there, we are regulated entity. हमारी भी CFT policy, भले ही हमारे financial transactions नहीं है, but we have made a CFT and AML policy. While onboarding client, we see so as per our thing, whatever client we have. So that way, CA firm, there is a whole, you can come as an CA can come as an ancillary service unit. You can get registered over there. And the only thing you have to do billing in the USD to the within GIFT City or outside. You can't do INR billing. So most CAs are most welcome to set up their unit or their office in GIFT City. No issues. So I think Praful, we can take other questions later on or offline. We'll note these questions. We can respond, and we have overshot. And I think with this we can conclude our webinar, and we'll participate. We'll welcome you all in our next webinar when we do that. So thank you all of you. Thank you for participating, and we hope that we also got enlightened when we discussed so many things. We also got enlightened every time by our questions, by our listening to our colleagues, and it is good for all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Global and domestic. As India Juris, we aim to be the best place for the lawyers to work in and set up standards for the lawyers to develop their skills being in this law firm. We aim to provide high standard of international legal services to our international, global and domestic clients.
India Juris is having innovative strategies with regard to intellectual property rights disputes as well as international dispute resolution. And we are having a lot of milestones which we have achieved and about to achieve.
At India Juris, as a full-fledged law firm, we are advising corporates, startups for their advice on IPOs and further transactional matters.